Hey guys, Mr. Matt here, and I will briefly go over my thoughts for the recently released Masters of the Universe Revolution, a show that is generating a lot of discussion on marketing, character work, and more. This review will include the positives and negatives. I will briefly preface by saying that I fully understand why some are angry at how the show was sold to them, and the execution of the plot is far from perfect, which is a shame since on paper the premise where Skeletor wins and does get the sword is one ripe for exploring when done right and in the correct way. That both makes sense and is ultimately satisfactory to a fan of He-Man that grew up with the show, because at the moment that definitely is not the case. The introduction with that retro looking art really helped sell me on the first episode, and it kind of got my interest. In terms of the exposition dump on the lore and the backdrop to the world, the premise, I was fine with for the most part. I think my main issue with that type of exposition is that if you apply it to, say, dialogue, it kind of comes across as telling over showing. Instead of just showing us that Taylor's good at this, you're just telling us. And I get that Duncan wants to praise her, but I feel that could have been written differently in the grand scheme of things. The Trojan He-Man tactic employed by Skeletor to get into Castle Grayskull was pretty interesting. It also paralleled quite nicely with what was happening at the Royal Palace when Adam shows up and signals pretty hard that he's He-Man to the audience, just in case you weren't sure who this was. Didn't think that was necessary, but I guess it was kind of a joke. Okay, fine, I'll give you that. What comes after this is the fight at Grayskull, which eventually culminates in the destruction, apparently, of Skeletor and He-Man, a big source of controversy since after the first episode, He-Man does not appear until they reach this world's version of heaven, Preternia. That being said, He-Man does show up multiple times in flashback scenes alongside Teela, and their chemistry, their teamwork together, their bond is clearly shown. I don't have any issue with that. I actually quite like it, because one of the big complaints I saw was that people seem to think that Teela is this overpowered Mary Sue-like character, and I don't see that. Not nearly as bad as some characters have been recently. She does get taken to task on more than a few occasions, and sure, she's a bit arrogant, she's a bit confident in her abilities, but at this point, are we just putting characters in a box and telling them how they need to be? Kind of how it feels like at the minute. I can also see why people think her reactions in the throne room and her interactions with Adam were inappropriate, because, let's be honest, to the king, that's his son that he's lost, and she should really be more conscious of that. But at the same time, if you've lost your best friend and for the longest time they've been hiding that they're this other person, you can imagine how conflicting that would be for her. And the fallout of what happens in the palace kind of leads to a self-imposed exile, sort of fitting a character that is running away from everything in a way, instead of just facing it and sucking it up. She's also fairly rude to Adam when he says that he died, and she's like, yeah, well, we had to pick up the pieces. It comes across as pretty rude, and a lot of people have a problem with it, because once again it's falling into this stereotype of, instead of being empathetic, she's rude for the sake of being rude, which is a trait shared by a fair few female characters at the minute, and I don't know why this is insisted upon in writing rooms. Like, if you want a likable character, then at some point they need to eat that humble pie. They need to get on a level with the person they're speaking to. Like, this could have been a really great moment for the two to actually kind of laugh about it, even for her to bury the hatchet, but she's so caught up in herself that she can't see the forest for the trees. This is all facilitated by a fairly typical design we see for women nowadays, where they're more masculine than feminine for some reason. I don't know why this is a thing now. I mean, you can have strong female characters that have like short hair. They don't have to have the same haircut. Can we please move from this weird ass haircut that they now have, or have to have, if they're a strong female character? Just copy and paste Ripley. Like, I'm sure people would like that. Is that too much to ask? That being said, there are some really good character moments, like between Evil Lyn and Orko, when they are both experiencing that illusion of a place devoid of life. And Orko has a moment of reflection, realizing they are the last of their kind, potentially. And honestly, it's probably one of the better moments in the show. And it actually shows a bit of humanity to Evil Lyn. Although she does go back to Skeletor's side in the end, there is a kind of hint there that maybe she's not fully on his side. She may stab him in the back, who's to say. But yeah, there are some really good character moments, like with Duncan, the man-at-arms, when he speaks about family and his commitment to that family. Honestly, there is some really decent moments in the show which elevated up for me, but the other problems, like the pacing, certain dialogue choices, and how characters come across, it kind of brings the show down. And it doesn't help that the marketing as well, and the way Kevin Smith acts on social media, and his reactions to fan feedback, fallout, and this and that and the other, it's just kicking a hornet's nest. It's not helping the situation. Honestly, I'm just sick of the cultural war as a whole, because it kind of, on the outside looking in, it's like it's sucking the joy out of enjoying media. Like, I can see the faults in the show for what they are. I can understand why people don't like it, but it's not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. It could be a lot worse. And anyone comparing it to The Last Jedi should probably go back and watch The Last Jedi again, because that film is so all over the place and has so much disrespect for its characters and their development that I have a hard time seeing where Masters of the Universe comes close to that, because there are plenty of moments in Masters of the Universe that lets you really get to know these characters. Orko, Evil Lynn even, and the Mermen, the mechanical people that might as well be from fucking 40k, let's be honest. Honestly, I can't be the only one who got Mechanicus vibes from them. Like, there's a lot here that could have been done better, and I hope that in the next season the He-Man comes back strong. I think my main gripe is the fact that Adam's parents, are just written out of the show after the first episode. We never really get to see what became of them, and I'm hoping in the second season that thread is picked up again. So I don't know why they were overlooked for these 5 episodes. I get that there's a lot happening, but I feel like there's a missed opportunity there. If I had to rate the show out of 10, I would give it a 5 out of 10, because it has a decent premise, but the execution is all wrong. One thing I didn't really touch upon is that He-Man kind of potentially dies twice, and if you're going to have that, then it's really messing with the stakes, which is why I'm hoping that he's not dead, because after he gets stabbed, it kind of just focuses on Skeletor becoming the master of the universe. So fingers crossed there. I may down the line do episode reviews, but I kind of just wanted this full review to just encompass some of my general thoughts. Everything I say here is just my own opinion. I ain't no expert. I'm not like some masterful critic. I just like to watch film. I like to watch TV occasionally, even if that's few and far between. And I kind of just wanted to get this channel up and running, and this is my first review in a long while, so it's probably going to be terrible in places. But hopefully, as I get more comfortable doing this type of analysis, I'll get better and improve my articulation in some areas. So let me know what you think I can improve if you want to. Also, let me know what you think of He-Man or the Masters of the Universe. I'm thinking of watching the 2002 release. It is actually on YouTube, so if you would rather watch that than this, then by all means, go and watch that. It actually has a nice little opening, which I caught, and the dynamic already between Teela and Adam is infinitely better. And for one, it actually shows Teela's natural prowess, her skill, without having to tell us that she's great at this stuff. Again, exposition is fine. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think it's too often depended on in storytelling, and a lot of the time you can probably show it instead. Not always, but most of the time. So I think I will leave it there. Don't want to waffle on for too long. I may do episode by episode, but I'll have to rewatch it all again and just make some notes here and there. It's not going to be like a frame by frame dissection, because that just removes all context. It'll just be focused on key points of each episode, which I liked, what I didn't like, what I think could have been done better in the grand scheme. And I think I will leave it at that. So thank you for watching. My next video may well probably be on Wandavision. There's something in there that I want to discuss, and in terms of more recent shows, Wandavision is the one that stuck with me the most compared to, say, Loki, mainly because of the themes and some of the stuff that happens. So I just want to talk about that for a bit. That'll be all. Thanks for watching again, and have a great day.